What is up, YouTube? This is your girl, the Lion Queen, coming back at you with part two of our last Airbender review. Today, we're going to talk about the good that I found in the movie, and surprisingly, there was a fair amount of good. Let's take a look at it. So, the first thing that I saw that I liked was when the movie first started. Well, the movie hadn't officially started, but it was the logos. The Paramount, Nickelodeon, and Last Airbender, all three had something to do with the four elements that were going to be portrayed in this movie. Granted, we didn't see much earthbending, much good earthbending, um, but it did talk about all four. All four were used in all three logos, and I thought that was a great touch, and I was happy that they did incorporate that in the logos. Another thing that I liked was the fact that they kept the opening. Now, I do wish that they would have let Katara narrate the opening as she does in the show. But hey, I thought they were going to get rid of it altogether. So the fact that it was still there made me happy. So I am excited that they had that in there. I was ready for the movie and I was okay with the text scroll. I wish they wouldn't have, but I was okay with it because again, I thought they were going to get rid of it. The third thing that I liked was the fact that they had Aang in the iceberg. His eyes, head, and hands were still blue because he was in the avatar state. So the first time we see him, he is in the avatar state, and I thought that was a great touch. Plus, it's kind of a throwback to the show. The fourth thing that I saw was the guy who portrayed Zuko was great. All of the rest of the actors did not really make me feel any kind of way because of the simple fact that they were not, they were there to be there to do it, and they weren't actually actors. Whereas this guy, I don't know if he's an actual actor, I don't know if he's been in anything, but you could see that he was on a mission, which was Zuko's whole thing. He was on a mission, and that's what we needed from him. And I'm so happy that they had this guy look like he was on a mission. He didn't look like he was just here and I'm gonna go find this kid. No, he looked like I need you because my dad will not take me back. And that was Zuko. His whole thing was he wanted to be loved by his father and he felt that Aang could bring it for him, which technically it did. But that's something I'll get into in the show if I do a review of the show. Vote if you want me to do the series for Avatar The Last Airbender, which I will gladly do. Let me know. And if you guys say for me to do a review of the show, I will do it. That will be perfect. But yeah, the guy who did Zuko, he was fabulous. Another thing I liked was the fact that they did give Iroh an accent. No, it was not the right one. I would have preferred that they'd gotten Asian actors for all of them, including the guy for Zuko. But again, I did love him, but just I would have preferred an Asian actor for this Asian movie since that was what he was going for. He didn't want it to be an Asian American movie. That's why he changed the names, so called. So if that was the case, I would have preferred that at least Uncle Iroh was an Asian actor and we got the accent from that as opposed to the accent that he had. But I am happy that they did not give him an American accent. Okay, so next we have the Southern Earth Kingdom. I didn't really find much in this one, but I had to include this one because it has my five-man dance group. That was the best. If we take out Zhao's ship scene and we just have them, I would be like, yes. The movie could have done without it, as I stated in my bad, that we could have done it, with one person. It was five men dancing to bring the rock across. How does that get better? It was like at this point they were like, you know what, this movie is not all that good. Let's put something funny in there that maybe they'll look at and say, okay, we're good. Great movie. Because that was oh my goodness, that was so funny. Just to see the fact that the five guys just dancing. The bending is supposed to surround the like body movements and like fighting styles and different things like that. It was like a stomp the yard type of thing. They were not actually trying to fight. They just wanted to be like, hey, look what we can do. And that was it. I like that. And The other thing that I found with this one was the fact that Sokka actually did use Boomerang. That also I thought he would not use. They do show that it's like a little glimpse, but Sokka does use Boomerang. And that made me happy as well because Sokka, Boomerang, up until he got his sword, Boomerang was number one to Sokka. So thank you for using that. Okay, so even though the Fire Nation did not have, I only have one thing for the Fire Nation, but it is a big thing to me because when we come back to the Fire Nation, I made it in my bad the fact that they showed Ozai's face, and that upset me. I'm still upset about that. Why was his face needed to be shown? Because in this specific scene that I'm talking about here, we're from behind his head. And this guy's voice, if this was the first time I had seen him, I'd have been like, wow, they did a great job with Ozai. Because his voice, plus him tapping on the chair with his ring, which, because we already see his face and we see this guy, we're not really afraid of him. So him tapping does not show that he's aggravated or annoyed. It just, why was he doing that? But for a little bit, we did get behind his head and just hear his voice. And the only thing we see is Zhao speaking to him. That's the only face we see. And we just hear his voice. But of course, they bring it back around and we see his face. But if this was how they introduced Ozai, I would have an I would be so happy. I This was perfect. This was how it was supposed to have been. Him sitting on his throne, talking in his deep voice that makes you just say, okay, you're the bad guy. Not looking at him and being like, okay, are you the bad guy? Because I mean, he even could have had the same line delivery as he did when we saw his face. But if this had have been when we didn't, the whole scene, but just those words from the first time we saw him, would have been completely different. It really would have. Because I wouldn't have been questioning, do he really want his son back? I would have been like, are you sure that's what you mean? Because we wouldn't be able to see his expression. And I'm so happy that that was included. So thank you for including that. Now we make it to Zhao's post. There were a couple of things I thought were good with this, like the fact that Zhao does ask Aang, how is it that you're still a boy? And that's a very valid question given that it's been 100 years and he should be 112, but yet he's a 112-year-old man with the mind and body of a 12-year-old kid. That was a very valid question. I wish there was an answer for it. Doesn't matter to the movie. That's why it was not in my bad. And it's nothing really serious because either way, it's Nickelodeon. It's a fantasy world. That's the least of my worries with me trying to find out the logic behind anything that happens in this movie. So the fact that there's a 100-year-old man in the body and mind of a 12-year-old, nah. But okay, do what you're gonna do. That's fine. But I am happy that someone did ask that question. That that worked with me. Thank you for asking that, Zhao. That makes me happy. Also, I give them credit for Zuko's blue spirit mask. It works. It was good. Not quite accurate, but still good. It was, I think, blue. It was kind of dark, but it was close enough to blue if it wasn't blue, and it covered his face. It did what it needed to do. So I'm happy that they did do that. I'm happy they chose that. I'm glad that they didn't, for one, cut him out and just let Aang get out of there. But they decided to leave the blue spirit in there, and they decided to leave him with the mask. He wasn't the blue spirit because he had a blue cover on. No, he still had the mask. Could have done without all the hair, but it still works. Okay, so the last things that I want to point out come from the Northern Water Tribe and the final scene, which was taking place in the Fire Nation. So, first, let's go with the Northern Water Tribe. It was beautiful. I loved it. It was a beautiful representation from what we have in the show. It was beautiful, and I was happy that they didn't make it mediocre. They didn't try not to show the gays. It was still there, and it was beautiful. It looked like it did in the show, aside from the wrong symbol outside, showing the Southern Water Tribe symbol versus the Northern Water Tribe symbol. But aside from that, It was nice. Another thing from there was you could see Zuko's determination to beat Qatar. And even when he lays her down after he wins and he says, I can't go home without him, you could see the genuine remorse, which I don't think Zuko really had at that point because, like I said, Zuko isn't the type to care. All he cared about was going home. But for them to include that, it gave Zuko more to him than just he's fighting, he has to take this kid home. That's all we got to him. No, they were like, he has a heart. He understands that she's trying to save him, but he also needs to get him home. He needs to show his father, I have the avatar. And you could see the determination to beat her. You can see the fact that he really didn't want to, but did. Well, you see that towards the end when he's sitting her up because old Zuko would have laid her out, grabbed Aang, and dipped right on out of there. But this guy sat him up and was like, I'm sorry, I can't go home without him. And I like it because it gives Zuko more. I don't know if it's because I love Zuko or if it's the fact that this guy really did, make me want to have Zuko with a personality other than I need to find him. Because what they tried to do with him talking to the little boy, it was so out of character for this Zuko and the show Zuko. But him saying, I'm sorry, I have to because I have to take him home. Okay, because we haven't really seen him attack anybody. And this show didn't even show him attacking Zhao. So it's like maybe this Zuko doesn't want to fight. I am good with it. I was happy with that. I want to talk about is the final scene in the Fire Nation, which is Azula. One, thank you for having Azula. Two, thank you for letting Azula look like Azula. She looked like Azula. And when I actually watched her and I saw her lift her head up, and I was like, they did it. They finally got somebody who looks like the person in the show. And last but not least, the end credits had to do with the elements as well. So we came into the movie with the elements with the logos. We leave out with the elements as the credits. I loved it. That was a great way to start it, a great way to end it. We just kind of work on that middle a little bit, and we have a great movie. So, yeah, that's going to do it for today. I will see you guys